We can't seem to break out of this drought.
It has been dry for so long. Should we give up on our lawns and gardens, our veggies and our flowers? Maybe not. Don Kinsler is the Cass County Extension Agent at NDSU and joins us today with some advice. Thanks for coming in today.
Well, good morning. And it has been a challenge, hasn't it?
It has.
Gardens, lawns, it has been a challenge. And so I thought we'd take a little walk around the yard and garden and kind of see some of the things that are happening. First of all, let's talk about in the vegetable gardening. And of course, with what's happening in our weather, there's two parts to it. Of course, the drought. It's dry, the subsoil's dry. Of course, that's one factor. The other factor, of course, is the heat, the unrelenting heat that we've had.
It's been so hot this summer.
Yeah, and so the two different things have impact. So let's start first with the vegetable garden. Now, in the tomatoes, this is very common. And now these were all taken out of my own vegetable garden, so I have the same trials and tribulations
Right.
as everyone
And you're the
else.
expert, so.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like I say, I share the same trials. Anyway, on tomato plants, very common this year, the lower leaves especially are rolling up. And there's a term for that. It's called physiological leaf roll. And it's the plant's response kind of to the environment. It just kind of, as a self-preservation, rolls up the leaves. Now, it has been shown not to affect the production of tomatoes. So that's the good news. There's really nothing that we can do. No matter how you water, sometimes those leaves will just roll. So it's not a disease. So the plant usually will still produce. Now, next is a problem called blossom end rot. Now, this tomato looked so nice when I went to pick it, and then I looked at the bottom end, and it's all black, brown, and sunken. That's called blossom end rot. And it's the plant's reaction to not being able to take calcium up out of the soil. And so it sucks the calcium out of the developing fruit. Now, our soils have plenty of calcium, so it doesn't work to add calcium to the soil because we got plenty, but the plant can't take it up. So a way to try to prevent blossom end rot is to keep the soil more uniformly moist, which is a challenge in a drought. But anything you can do to keep the soil nicely moist, maybe water a little more frequently, mulch, do mulch, such as grass clippings that aren't treated. Now, I don't have enough grass clippings, to mulch because our lawn just isn't growing.
No,
so
exactly.
blossom end rot. Next, very common this year, and this is the worst that I've seen probably ever. These string bean leaves are just decimated, holes. The roots have been fed on the beans. It was a bean leaf beetle. It was called bean leaf beetle. And if a person catches this in time, some of the all-purpose insecticides such as Sevin or permethrin, some of the insecticides that we keep kind of on our shelf to treat things, if you catch this in time, then it will prevent this. But very devastating to string beans this year, bean leaf beetle. Now, lots of reports of people's cucumbers and squash and pumpkins not setting fruit. And one of the main reasons is because the pollen is being affected and the flowers affected by the heat. Now, there are two different types of flowers on cucumbers, pumpkins, and squash. The male and female flowers are separate. For example, if you probably can't see it on the camera, but if you guys look closely at the base of this blossom, there's a little cucumber. That's a female flower. The base of this cucumber flower has no enlargement. This is a male flower.
Okay.
Now, in the heat, and early in the season, oftentimes the first blossoms produced are the male blossoms. And if you don't have female blossoms being produced, you get no cucumbers.
Right.
And in the heat, there are less female blossoms produced. So that can cause very few fruits. For example, in our pumpkin patch, I've got no pumpkins forming. All of the flowers are male. And
They're pretty, though.
Yeah, they're pretty. But because of the heat and the conditions,
that's a
so far
bummer.
I've got no female blossoms that would result in pumpkins.
Shucks.
You were able to find some flowers, though, in your garden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're exactly. The pumpkin flowers are beautiful. Now, if we take a look at shrubbery, this is a panicle type of hydrangea that grows in the shrubs, well adapted, does great in our area. But the leaves on it are just kind of crinkled, a little crisp. There are some things eating on it, probably grasshoppers, and it just doesn't look good. Just not healthy and vigorous like it normally would be. And it's the heat. I've received a lot of calls, and emails about hydrangea. They like it cool and they like it moist. And no matter how we water some of these things, you know, it just doesn't substitute for a real good rain. Another in the kind of ornamental flower type situations are the hosta. You know, the that usually like shade. You know, the hosta perennial.
I thought you couldn't kill those.
Yeah, but
They're pretty hardy
this
usually.
year there's a lot of edges that are turning crisp and brown, and it's a reaction to the heat.
Okay.
No matter how we water, we just can't keep.
We are running out of time, so I want to make sure you show off the good part of, or what is thriving in the
you know,
hot,
we
dry
don't
weather.
want to be completely negative
Right,
and down.
right.
So, you know, perennial flowers, keep them watered. Look at that beautiful lily.
I
Isn't
love
that
it. It is
nice?
gorgeous.
And a daylily.
They're liking them.
Smell
Vicky.
good too. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
doesn't that smell good?
This is
Perennial
delicious.
phlox. Here's one of my favorite little roses called Campfire. Look at the different colors in that campfire rose.
So
It's developed
pretty.
in
Pretty.
Canada.
That's a great
very
combo.
nice and hardy. So, you know, even though things are a challenge, there are still good things to be had.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
well,
love it. And we mentioned, I know we're out of time, but weeds, they seem to be thriving in this hot, dry weather too. So
They are, and our lawns can go dormant, but once a month they need a little water, about a quarter
once a
inch,
month.
once a month, even
Once
if
a
your
month.
lawn has gone dormant.
okay, we're
good
not going to let
know.
Dawn leave just
No.
yet. Coming up, we're going to focus on veggies and talk about how your vegetable garden could actually help those in need. Stay with us.